All right, welcome to League of Legends 13.9, the game where everything changes, nothing is sacred, and anything you like will eventually be gone. I am Chris, and joining me today is just my friend Jason.
Chris, it's good to be with you for 13.9, or as I like to call it, the Nico Jump Scare Patch.
Yeah, that is some cool stuff. I can't wait to get down to that.
Same here.
And as a more solemn note, I'm afraid Nate has officially retired from the League of Legends for the moment. We don't know how long his death timer is going to be, but hopefully he'll come back someday, as all, women come back to an abusive spouse kind of relationship.
Nate, we're waiting on your respawn. You were a lot of fun, man.
Anyway, alright, let's get back into the meat and potatoes. First things first, they finally increased the amount of emotes that you can fit on the slot wheel.
I
So
know you're thrilled about this, Chrissy.
it's long overdue. You see that they add 57 more emotes every single patch, so it's only reasonable we move on to a 9-slot wheel, and then hopefully someday when you drag the thing, it just shows every emote simultaneously.
Yeah, right. I still don't understand why they don't just let you bind any number of emotes to any number of hotkeys that you want, so you don't have to deal with that stupid wheel. But at least, with the emote wheel, you can use this anywhere instead of trying to click on the mini map and having like 16 different wedges and not being able to hit the right one because it's in the corner of your screen.
I agree with you. I think you should just attach a secondary keyboard that should be dedicated purely to emotes.
Something like that, or just hey, have like I would probably put it on like Alt A, Alt S, Alt D, Alt F, Alt Q, W, E, R. I would just use like one hotkey to say I want an emote, and then pick a freaking emote.
Okie dokie.
All right.
Moving
One
on to
other
something
interesting
that
thing from
isn't.
above,
What?
though. One other interesting point from above. If you look at the Clash, so there's going to be these. If you basically win your first game of Clash in the next tournament, you can get a skin or a shard. As always, the first game is the only thing that really matters in Clash, which is dumb. But I thought that it was interesting that they said the Japanese region is excluded from this reward due to legal restrictions. What do you think's going on there?
I have no idea. I
I was
really
trying to
couldn't
think
care
through it as
less.
well. Yeah, I was wondering if maybe this is some type of like gambling thing, even though the shards and the skins have no real worth. But if it was that, I would have thought it would be maybe like an EU country would be banned. Because you can't do loot boxes there, for example. I was trying to figure it out for hours. I didn't like look it up or anything, but I have no idea. I just found that really interesting. So
Alright.
if you're in Japan, you are not eligible for certain rewards due to your law.
Gonna have to buy the old region swap.
Yep. For all the
Alright.
fans of our podcast coming from Japan. Sorry,
Moving on
guys.
from purely narcissistic systems in the game, let's move on to the actual good stuff. I was
All right,
joking.
yeah,
I
let's
hate
tell
I hate the emotes. I've never had my emote wheel mapped ever.
them.
I just think it's the ridiculous nonsense.
I have literally never seen you emote.
That's yep.
Whereas
I
I try to tell
refuse.
entire stories with my emotes, so
I
I'm a fan of
refuse
this
to
change.
I refuse to partake into such a pointless system.
I love partaking in stupidity.
Okay, first up is Aatrox, and after
Yeah.
getting nerfed 76,000 times over the last 2 years, he's finally getting a buff. This actually is a revert, though, I think. I think his passive when he first got reworked was actually this number to begin with. So,
Are you talking from a long time ago?
yeah, a long time ago. This is
Interesting.
probably the one of the best parts of his kit because it's so easy and consistent to do. So it's nice he got some more love on this. It won't really be meaningful until he can heal a lot off minions again, because that was one of the things they clamped down a lot on. Because you used to always hit this on the cannon minion because the cannon minion had the most health, so you'd get the most health back. So
Yeah, if you remember about, I don't know, 4 or 5 patches ago, they gave Aatrox an absolute kneecapping where they took away like 20 to 30% of his healing from everywhere. And they have not given that back, as far as I remember. So they're
yeah,
giving her a little bit more damage here and a little bit more speed, But I agree with you. He's going to be in kind of a weird spot until he can get a little bit of that healing back.
I think he sucks. I think he sucked ever since he lost his revive. I honestly don't even think he would be the type of champion that would be good in the pro scene because this kid is like so predictable.
Yeah, I don't know about Procin, but he was really good until they kneecapped him several patches
Yeah.
ago. At least in my experience, like more often than not, he would go off.
The most I
Uh,
could say is that at low elos, he's probably like a good pub stomper like Darius.
yeah, I mean I'm playing in like high gold to probably high gold right now is the elo I'm usually in. So that's what medium elo, but yeah, Aatrox was usually doing really good, and yeah, since that last set of just huge nerfs, he has not been good. So, this will help him a little bit. I agree with you that it probably will not be enough to bring him back to anywhere close to where he was.
I'd even wouldn't mind losing some Q damage if he got his revive back. And they've never touched the Q damage since his rework.
It was always weird to me because the revive never felt like such an important part of his kit.
But he's had it his whole life. Even before his rework, he had that. That's why it seemed like a cardinal sin to take that away from him.
I think he's gone more seasons without a revive than he's had the revive now.
I don't think so.
I think so.
He was
Man.
around longer before his rework than now.
He came out in season 5, didn't he?
I think he might be even older than that, but he always had his rework before he was, or he always had his revive before he was reworked. I think there were different ways that he like triggered it, and it was easier or harder at times, but he always had it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been at least like 4 or 5 years since I've like seriously watched the pro scene, and he I think 4 years, but he lost his revive way before that, at least 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's been a while now.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else about Aatrox, or should we move on?
Let's move on. Next up, we got a Moo, and the numbers on this ability have actually been messed with a million times. Historically, this was capped at 1.6 for many, many years, so this is really big for them to move this up to 2 at the high end. This is what I think most people max first in the jungle, though I think Tantrum is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
So this is actually a pretty big buff in my opinion.
Yeah, and whether you're maxing it first, second, or last, this is a buff either way.
Yeah, and this is damage per second, whereas if you look at something like Leander's or Demonic Embrace...
This is damage per half second. You get 2 ticks per second, I think, on a Mumu's W.
Okay, this is even more busted than I thought then.
Yeah,
so what I was saying is something like Leandry's or Demonic Embrace is telling you the damage over like 4 or 5 seconds, and that one's like 4 or 5%, or 3 or 4 or 5. So this is actually probably more powerful than both of those now.
Yeah, this is quite nice for him. And what's interesting here is that not only is it a buff to the jungle, where obviously he could clear, the big camps like Raptors a lot quicker, although he always has his E for that anyway. My God, it feels good clearing Raptors with E.
Anyone with an area effect ability can clear the Raptor camp super
but
fast because of the ridiculous jungle passives now.
Yeah, for sure. But not only is it good in the jungle, this is good for support Amumu, who's going to be able to actually like get more burst off with their lane partner with just a level 1 to spare. It might even be good for like, I'm wondering if we might even see like a top Amumu start to enter plays, for example, like a Cho'Gath counter.
A Cho'Gath counter, huh? Yeah, I don't see him countering Cho'Gath just by the
4% of his max HP every second, and it's like Cho'Gath can't burst this guy. He's gonna be tanky.
That might sound good on paper, but Cho'Gath just has so much lane sustain. I don't think it would match up good. Maybe in like the super late game, he would do okay.
I'm thinking of like just scale all game, don't lose to Cho'Gath, and then like you'll be the guy who can almost like 1v1 solo him if he tries to split or whatever.
I'm very certain it would be a miserable experience for the first several levels for Amumu.
Okay. I thought it would be kind of like an even match between them early on.
Cho'Gath's lane sustain is so oppressive in terms of like trading. You would have a hell of a hard time.
That's fair.
And as far as support Amumu, I actually think Tantrum's the better max because that passive negates champion auto attack damage.
I think I usually max Q on support Amumu.
No, it's not really good since they moved to the stock system where they like
Uh-huh.
cut the damage like into like 2/3 because he can do it twice now. Uh,
Yeah,
what's all that really matters is if you land it at least once. I honestly don't even think support Mumu's
if
that
you can
good.
land it twice though, it's basically a kill.
I don't think it's honestly very good for the same reason
Yep.
that you don't see a lot of support Malphite. While on paper you'd be like, whoa, that must be
I
good.
actually play support Malphite a lot into either Misfortune or double ADC. I will like almost always play support Malphite if it's if we don't
Yeah.
need like an enchanter for a Kag'Maw or something like
It
that.
sounds good on paper until you realize how much of like the bag you're holding when your ult's not on. Before you have your ult and when your ult's on cooldown.
Right, you really got to make use of the
Amumu's probably
it's
better than
actually like
that.
Mouth is actually, and Mumu especially, is good before six. But Mouth is actually not as bad as you would think before six, depending on if you have a like a strong ADC. Um, kind of if they engage or if your ADC can make a catch somehow with like maybe like a Xayah pull or something like that. You can flash in and basically kill. Anyway, yeah, this is nice for all roles of Mumu. I agree with you. Like the jungle is still the best spot for him, but I really do wonder whether we might start to see more top or support with this buff. That's all.
In reality, you're probably just gonna see more cheesy AP builds.
Yeah. I mean, with like between this, Leandri's, Demonic Embrace, Rylais.
How
I
about
mean, there's a lot.
Sunfire Cape too? Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, that's true.
You gotta get all the ticks in.
All right. Basically,
Okay.
avoid a Mumu like the plague.
Next up, we got Belveth, and this is actually a champion that I thought would have flourished in the game more. But the longer she's been in the game, I've come to realize that I think people are just scared of how difficult and inconsistent she is to play.
Hmm.
And I've played her a few times myself. I kind of like going like an off tank thing where I've noticed the few times I've seen her, people literally just go like 5, 6 damage items. I think just by the nature of how her passive on her ultimate functions, I think building her tank is actually pretty hilarious. If you remember, we spent like an hour talking about her when she first came out, and I don't know, I don't remember what you said, but I was pretty sure she was going to make a huge splash when she came out because I thought she had one of the best kits to come out in a long time.
Yeah, I remember you thought she was very OP, looking at her,
I
and I
still
thought she was OP just because of her ultimate.
I still think she's strong. I think people have just kind of shied away from her a lot for the same reasons. But you don't see a lot of Camille, while Camille is
I
still a
gotta
very
say,
good
like,
champion.
I've seen a lot of people play her and just completely fail on her.
Yeah, I feel
Uh,
like she is very difficult to play because she is such a binary champion.
Interesting.
But in a better way, not like Master Yi binary though. You know.
Oh, that's very binary. Although honestly, usually Master Yi hits the point where he's gonna dominate the game anyway. Belveth like just never seems to hit that.
I feel like
You have to
people
build up
just index into too much offense. I think is like the kind of thing. The few times I played her, I've just gotten Bork into like Jack shows, and just by the nature of her ultimate's passive, the thing where you infinitely stack true damage, I feel like it's just so. She's a lot of fun to play that way because you can afford to actually take a hit, here and there, and if and she just demolishes tanks. No tank can touch her. It is that's the one thing she has going for her. Even if
Yeah,
she doesn't have a lot of AD, no tank can fight
I
her.
feel like she is built to be kind of like a glass cannon because of her percentage damage reduction. Usually, you see that on champs that are intended to be glass cannon. I've never really seen the off tank build. You'll have to show me sometime, but I
I
don't know.
also think her passive should scale faster. I feel
I
like
usually
that's the
see
one
glass
thing
cannon
that
as well,
I feel.
and usually fails.
I think if her passive scaled like 20 or 30% faster than it does, I think that would help her out too. It takes her a while before she gets like 100, 120 stacks or whatever to where she unlocks that custom auto attack animation where she's just like chopping super fast.
So, question for you. They increased the damage against monsters. They increased her AD throughout the game. Like by the time you're level 18, you'll have like 3 less AD. Why do you think they did that? Like, why do you think they
Uh,
had to nerf and buffer at once?
well, the buff on her Q and her Q's damage component is rather meaningless. It doesn't really do a lot. It's merely like kind of her. It's like what little outplay potential
Mobility spell,
and
really. Yeah.
mobility that she has. It does bonus damage against monsters already, so I guess this was supposed to be for a better clear. And as for why they would basically negate some of that with damage to her scaling, I don't know. I guess it's contradictory, but I don't expect anything less from Riot at this point.
Yeah, I mean, by the time that she has, by the time that the AD growth matters, here, she already has a good clear.
I don't
Like,
think it really matters. I think
yeah,
she's so based around attack speed and on-hit effects. I don't think it really matters if she lost attack damage.
yeah, it's just weird to me. It's like, why do they have to do this? And I think that she's a little bit weak. Because it's not even like 120 to 140 is that good. This just seems a little bit like shuffling deck chairs in the Titanic.
Yeah, that's exactly the metaphor I was about to say.
You were exactly going to use that metaphor.
No.
All right, I'm glad I beat you to it.
Does that just mean it's a pointless endeavor?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much.
Yeah, she's fun to play, especially when the thing is her passive starts scaling better as she the stacks count for more flat bonus attack speed as the game goes on. I think there's like 3 thresholds, and at one point they get to like 1%, so each stack gives her like 1% bonus attack speed. I feel like they need to jump up to like 1.25 when she gets to like 16 or something to just let her index even heavier into that. The thing is, I'm not sure that would make people play her more conservatively. I think people just think she needs too much damage. The fact of the matter is, when she builds like super damage, I feel like it's overkill. She just melts people anyway. I don't think she.
Yeah.
I think her playstyle
What I really
is.
like to get is just like slightly better mobility on the Void Search. Like
I think
20
her. I think her kit is kind of would support like an off tank playstyle in my opinion.
Okay.
I wouldn't play her top by nature of the fact that she would lose too many stacks by not killing large monsters. And that is kind of a bummer. I wish she got like a quarter of a stack by killing minions. She still gets a stack from killing large minions. But if she got like a quarter of a stack from killing small minions, that would be really cool.
I don't dislike it.
I don't think she would be bad top lane. There's just no incentive for her to lose that many stacks.
Is she good enough early on that she could survive most of the matchups, though?
Oh, she's
'Cause she really
she's
has to
terrible early on.
yeah, and she has to like get up close and hit the minions. So I don't think you'd be able to see
But
her top to like anything but like maybe a Mundo or something.
there's other top laners who scale slower. I don't think it would be so bad that she couldn't,
I mean,
survive.
sure, she could survive against the Nasus, but then Nasus will blow her out of the water later.
Well, I don't think you can compare every champion to how they do against Nasus.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't think there's many matchups she'd be able to survive early game and be useful or more useful than the other champ late.
I think it would just be how fast she gets like her first on-hit item.
Right.
And if she was getting stacks from the minions, I think she would scale fast enough. She doesn't really have to take fights if she doesn't want to. She has a lot of like,
Yeah,
she
get
can
away
Q
from it
backwards, she
before
can
dashing,
W
sure.
forward, she can do the damage reduction thing. She has a lot of tools to not take the fight if she doesn't want to.
Yeah. But then you're giving away control over the lane. Whereas in the jungle, it's like if you choose not to take a fight, great, you move on to the next camp.
I wish she could play her top. I would definitely try it out if she could do that. But
I'm happy we're seeing more like Lilia top and mid, because that's a champ that I really want to learn. She looks really fun.
Yeah, it's funny you mention it. When she first came out, I was playing that a lot top. I have not seen anyone else do it.
Right at the beginning, she was getting a lot of play in lanes, and then I forget whether they changed something in her kit to make her more of a jungler, or whether people just realized she was best in the jungle.
I don't think you'd want to play her mid, though. She's pretty troll top, though, because there's so many melee champs.
I've seen her mid. I've seen her like do competently mid too. Yeah, I agree. Top would be the more general.
I was running Grasp on her, and now
Uh-huh.
they switched. Who is the other champion? Several months ago, there was 2 champions who they switched their auto attacks to be coded as range melee versus range. She was one of them, so now Grasp is better on her. I was running Grasp on her top for a while.
Interesting. Was Thresh one of them?
No, his is always ranged. He just doesn't have a projectile.
Okay.
Oh, it's Rakan. Rakan's also melee.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right.
But when she first came out, she didn't have sustain on her passive, so she's probably better now top than she ever was.
Yeah. All right, let's go to a champ whose attack damage reduction actually matters.
Huh. Well, looks like she's gonna lose about 2 AD or something.
It's gonna be like this is a 4 or 5 AD in the late game, which is actually important because the bomb on her Q on her switcheroo is based off of your AD is how much damage you're dealing. I think it's like 100 and what 20 130%.
Well, hold on now. Her W scales with total attack damage. Whoop whoop.
That too. But I'm saying like no, but the Q is something that you use on every auto attack, and you're using it against 3 or 4 targets. So that's like 7 damage less on each hit against each target. That's actually pretty significant at level 18. That could be the difference between killing someone and then you get excited and you get reset city or you run away safely versus you don't quite get the kill in time and you get splatted.
Well, when critical strikes only do 105% damage next season, she's going to be really hurting.
Yeah, right. But no, I think this is more significant than you seem to, and I like this because Jinx is a freaking monster.
Yeah, she's always been good, I think.
She's gonna get that triple. She's gonna go off, and there's not much you can do after that if she's protected.
Okie dokie. Next up, a champion that's always been near and dear to my heart. We got some interesting changes here.
Weird, aren't they?
After she just got buffed in the last patch, they've nerfed her damage in this patch. This is obviously going to be pretty good early on, this damage to her passive.
Right.
Although, I believe this particular component of her passive damage doesn't actually activate until she's like 11. The flame thing, I don't.
Yes,
the regular thing.
Yes.
Yeah. The regular one I think was buffed last patch, though. And then the Nashor's ratio on that was nerfed, so whatever. That's not going to matter much. They're always dicking with these numbers a little bit. I think the big thing is her ultimate, though, where they greatly reduced that goofy cast time where she just sat there and couldn't auto attack while her ultimate was going off. That was one of the dumbest things they ever did, and I think they should just remove the cast time overall because this wasn't even a part of the old Kale's ultimate.
Right. Okay. So the cast time is where she can't auto. It's not the time before the invulnerability, or is it both? Like
it's both. It's both. It's both. She can't auto during that time.
She can't auto, and they're not invulnerable until the cast time ends.
No, she's still invulnerable. It's the delay before the explosion, though.
Well, that's actually changed. The explosion is a totally different thing now. That happens at the end of the invulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
So what we have now is they're changing it to a 2.5 second spell, where for the first half of a second, Kale can't attack. But for all 2.5 seconds, the ally is invulnerable. Correct? And then at the end of the 2.5 seconds, the damage goes off.
Yeah, and I'm surprised they actually went in this direction. They increased the size on this by a considerable amount. This is actually pretty hilarious now. This is going to be pretty funny. I guess they were figuring it was too hard for her to get people in the circle. She's not going to have a problem with that anymore. So this is pretty generous, I have to say.
I think it's really dumb, though, that they kept it at the same range at level 1 and 2, and then level 3, it gets more range. Like, I guess level 16 Kale is what they're going for, but stupid. Like, either just scale it up 50 each level, or just make it a flat 725 and be done with it.
No, they increase the range at every level.
No, 675, 675, 775.
That's what it was increased to.
Oh, yes, from 500, of course. But I mean, like, it doesn't scale up, linearly anymore. It's just like a random jump at 16.
Well, for everyone that played her for a amount of time, you're definitely going to feel like it's scaling up since it was always the same before.
Yeah, 775 is really nice. You're doing a little less damage, including less AP, but it feels like a buff to me, especially that they have less lockout on their autos.
Yeah, they really need to get rid of that. That's so stupid.
I mean, if it's half a second, they might as well just get rid of it to 0. I agree.
Uh-huh. I don't believe the old one ever had that. I honestly would take the old Kale over the new one. Still,
Uh,
she sucked less in
over,
lane.
Overall, I'd call this a giant buff. What do you think?
Getting rid of the lockout thing on her autos is a big deal for how she like her playstyle is. So
Yeah.
that's a big
I mean,
deal.
that 1 second of
Uh,
auto attacking for Kale at level 16 is thousands of damage.
she didn't lose that much damage, and to be honest, this ability probably already did more damage than it should have. So it still does
Yeah.
a lot. Besides, I feel like I'm the only one that just builds her full AP. Everyone else just builds her with like a hodgepodge of goofy shit. Like, let's throw in the Kraken. Oh, now we'll still get Nasters, though. Okay, now here we get Bork.
What I really
Yeah.
like about what they did here from a design perspective is that the duration of the invulnerability now lines up exactly with when the area of effect damage comes down. So when you're playing against it, you only need to basically keep one timer in mind, and it's important to get that timer right because that's when you either need to be out of range of the area of effect, or that's when you need to start wailing on whoever she protected,
That's a
including
good
maybe.
observation. That went by me.
Yeah, well, I do think
Uh,
that's just really good design to make the timings consistent where possible. So
I wish
props to
they'd
Rito.
wish they'd buff the AP ratio on her W. That heal is fucking pathetic.
Yeah,
It
it used
sucked.
to be a lot
It
higher,
sucked
and
before, but it was better.
they basically said like we don't want her to be a healer. Like this is supposed to be just a little bit of extra utility.
Eh, She can never do that because that ability costs like 130 mana. It's absolutely. It gives an insane amount of movement speed, but
Yeah, the
yeah.
movement speed's more helpful than the heal for sure.
I also wish they'd rework her Q. I find it very awkward and useless. Like, I know it shreds armor and MR, and that doesn't scale. It should. Her Q feels very useless. It feels like it's a part of her kit you're not even using. Because it feels like it's slower than the rest of her kit at all points in the
Yes,
game.
it
I
feels
wish, yeah.
very awkward to actually use mechanically.
Her old
Yeah,
Q might have been brain dead, but it was always useful. And it was
yeah.
fast.
I mean, just give her like a Kagmaku.
So yeah, I would like a new Q, and
Yep.
it's still. I wish they would just put the shred back into her passive, like in the old days, and just give her a new Q. I don't know, maybe that would be too strong, but
Yeah, I don't
it
know.
just sucks. It sucks and it doesn't do anything, and it's too slow.
I think the whole Kale rework was a mess. I think they've gotten it to a point where it's not as much of a mess.
Okay,
But
I changed my mind. What they need to do is they can keep the Q, but make it much better against minions, because that's the thing she has a really hard problem with early on, and it's the thing that makes her really bad in mid lane. Her wave clear is terrible.
yeah, her wave clear's bad until she really hits 11.
So if that would be able to hit more targets, it fizzles too fast. So even if you get like the perfect angle, you can't really hit a lot of minions with it.
Yeah, they're gonna
So
give her all these things though. They have to really take away her late game power, and like I'm all in favor of that.
I think she's better late game now than she was before rework, but I think the old Kale was good enough.
Yeah, I thought the
Was
old
so
Kale
good
was.
still that I don't think it would really matter.
I hate to say it because it was kind of cheesy the old Kale, but I think it was a better design champion overall for game health at least. Um, yeah. What can I say, man? Not a big
I miss
fan of the
playing her
new Kale.
mid. The old Kale could go mid and it was good. This
Yeah,
Kale sucks mid.
yeah.
And I don't like playing her top because she's not a tank and it makes me feel funny. And I feel like I'm one of those morons who's playing Vayne top if you were to play her top. So I don't want to be one of those morons.
It's definitely not as moronic as Vayne top or like oh
Quinn.
my god, so many. I saw an Oriana top and a it wasn't even a Victor. What was singing much more stupid. Oriana top. By the way, fed her ass off, and a
At least Orion would be annoying to lane against.
yeah, it was like some jungler didn't work, and a Kindred top the other day in my solo queue, and I had to play both those games because I already used my dodge.
But that's when you stop playing. Haven't you learned by now?
Yeah, maybe Nate knew what he was talking about.
Can't keep playing when you use both your dodges. You
I've
crazy.
seen so much disgusting. Well, just one dodge. We've talked about this before. It's idiotic to dodge a second time, unfortunately.
It's
But yeah, I
worse.
guess
It's not
so
yet
much.
idiotic.
I've seen so much stupid stuff top in the last few weeks. I don't know what's causing that. Maybe some like streamer or something.
That's
Are we gonna skip Nico and come back to her?
No, we can do this one now. Be
Okay.
honest, there's only one part of her kit that was substantially altered. I'm really happy about this new passive. I feel like while she got extra, like cosmic levels of trickiness now in her kit, the rest of her kit took a huge hit to get this. And that was kind of why she's like much of a cheese lord as she is because the rest of her kit had so much built-in like consistency. But okay, let's get to the hilarious part. And I think
Yeah.
originally this did not include traps and wards. So, or plant? Does that include the blast cone kind of thing?
Yeah, that includes the blast cone,
You'd have to squat just in the right spot to fool them,
the
would you?
honey fruit. You think you're gonna heal, and then surprise, it's Nico
Okay,
and the scrying blossom. Yeah.
yeah, this is truly hilarious. There's actually a champion in Dota that does something like this that's similar, where they can disguise and hide as one of the lane minions and then pop out and be a weirdo. So this is pretty hilarious. I guess when she's next to, I guess anything, even Tibbers essentially, uh, that based it says pet, so I assume that means like Daisy, Tibbers, anything.
Yeah, I don't think that includes like the Malzahar doggos, but like
No,
stuff like
it
Daisy.
should. It says pet. That
That could,
encompasses anything
are they
basically.
are they considered a pet? Okay,
Yeah, that encompasses any kind of summon like Heimerdinger's
interesting.
turrets. That should work.
Oh, cool. So there you go.
Zyra's plants, Aphelios's turret. I mean, it can be anything.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a lot of good use cases for like a Zyra plant, which is supposed to like time out in 4 seconds anyway.
Yeah, this is gonna just make her so silly. I don't even know where this is going to elevate her to. She's kind of a troll support. She's a troll top laner. She isn't even really played that much mid.
It's gonna be a jungler now.
She's not very popular. You think she'll jungle? I mean, I think
Okay,
so
I'll
much of
explain it
this
for you then.
so much of this silliness is kind of relegated to you walking past her. I don't think the trickiness is as much her coming towards you.
Yeah, but
Because
okay, so the way that this new innate works is she has to be like within a small range of one of these things for 2 seconds. So she has to get 2 seconds at a time where where you're not seeing her. Who's gonna get that? Well, the jungle's gonna have the easiest time getting that. And what is the most likely things that you're gonna be able to copy? Well, it's either gonna be a jungle monster or a plant. Those are gonna be
no,
the things where the enemy's gonna walk up and they're actually gonna expect it to be where you are.
what if she just kills one of the small raptors and just takes its place? Right? That's
Well
how
then the
you
raptors,
counter jungle.
no, because then the raptors are all gonna be attacking her.
Yeah, but you gotta you take the charge or whatever, and then you let them reset, and then you go squat in the missing raptor's spot, right?
Oh, with one raptor? Yeah, I guess you could do that,
In
right?
reality, I think that where this will make the most sense, especially if she matches the movement speed of the unit, is she just takes the place of a melee or caster minion and walks down the lane, and someone goes to farm, and she's like, "Surprise!"
No, because they're gonna be like, why are there why are there 4 melee minions in this wave?
Oh, dude,
You have to be an idiot to not recognize that.
when there's like more than one clashing against the turret, no one's gonna notice real fast.
Yeah, I guess
If
if it's not in a clean wave, that's true.
uh,
There are definitely edge cases for there, but I really think that the easiest and best ways to use this are on jungle monsters and on plants. Because the plant, you could just, you store the Shoma, which is basically the form of that thing, I'm guessing. You activate the plant like a bomb plant or something like that, and then you squat wherever the bomb plant was, and you impersonate the bomb plant. And
yeah,
what's really cool
that
about that is there's no like way to like use like point and click abilities on plants. You can only auto attack it, so they have to like get in range to auto attack it. And that's when you pop out and you murk them.
well, presumably if you shot something like a line skill shot, it would still hit her.
Yes, but it wouldn't do anything to her. I mean, it would damage her, but
Uh,
it would still look like the plant.
well, now you're acting like this passive gives her some form of like untargetability.
No, no, no.
I don't think it's
It's
gonna
not.
work. I don't think it'll work
No.
like that.
Well, it is on targetability, I think, because like otherwise, all you need to do is put the cursor over her on a skill, and if you can target the plant, it's obviously Nico. I think it is untargetability if she's impersonating something that is normally untargetable with an ability,
You're
meaning a
right. You're
ward
right
or a
about that fringe case. If you tried to
yeah.
say Annie Cure or Lulu Ear, you're right.
Yes.
Then you would know right away. They'll probably, uh, if they think about it, they'll probably make it so you can't do that or something,
Yeah, I
just so to blow
they're
her
making it so
cover.
you can't do that until she gets back into her form, and she's under no obligation to get back into her form either.
But
Because the only way
even
for
if
the
you could do that, I
Dracula,
feel like it would be fine. Even if you could hit her with that, because you'd basically have to remember to shoot every single plant you get next to. You know.
well, yeah, and that's what like the really good players would do. Because there's no cost in trying it, right? If it's just a regular bomb plant, the queue won't go through. It'll say you can't use this ability here. There's no valid target.
This looks like a lot of fun, but I question how niche it's going to be. I think just the lane thing I said and the thing where it says wards. I think if you just pretend to be a control ward in one of the bushes, I think that'll be a hoot.
I'm assuming that if you pretend to be a stealth ward, it's visible, right? Because that would be absolutely fucking bonkers.
Well, the reason I said control ward is because those are already visible, so it
Right,
would make
but,
sense for someone
right,
to approach them trying to kill them.
right. But I'm saying it would be absolutely bonkers if you can impersonate a stealth ward and you get stealth. That would be a
Uh,
free recall.
that would be pretty. That'd be a bit much considering this is on such a low cooldown.
Yeah, I'm guessing that if you impersonate a stealth word, you'd be visible as if you were hit with a scrying blossom.
I don't
I
know.
certainly hope so, because otherwise that is completely OP.
I feel like they're really widening the field with all the things she can mimic here. This is a bit,
Yes,
especially
yes.
the plants and the traps. I think are probably a bit much.
I'm interested to see what it look. I don't think it's a bit much at all. I love this.
Like
I'm
you
interested
could
to see what it
say the
looks like in
same thing
game.
about Timo shrooms. Would she be invisible then too? Presumably yes. I guess.
I don't think a Teemo shroom is technically any of the. Oh, it's a trap, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the Teemo shroom again becomes visible if you hit it with a scrying blossom or like a red sweeper. I'm guessing that if she impersonates something that's stealth, it's as if she were hit with true vision, because otherwise it would be absolutely unfair.
Rest assured, this ability is going to see a lot of bugs and a lot of tweaks, just like
Yeah,
Wukong's
it
clone.
probably will. But I think this is really cool because her old passive, it was so rarely useful. The only time it was really useful was if the other team wasn't paying attention and you impersonated someone that had like 40 HP. They walked up like, "Hey, I'm gonna get a free kill." And even then, often they would just kill you. So I really liked it. There are so many cool use cases for this. You could also use this to impersonate, because it's a little bit more flexible with the 2-second cooldown. Um,
I'm
you
thinking
could
of
use it.
like the juking and jiving between bushes. She just keeps changing into weird things. And you're like, what? Like, did a
Yeah.
minion wander into the bush? What the fuck? Because you're gonna be like, yeah. Imagine you like the minions are all clashing in
Why
like
is this ward walking at me?
oh yeah, that's some real stupid shit. You see like the blue buff wandering into your lane and shit. I'm like, well, I guess it hasn't reset yet. Never mind
Freaking looks
that.
angry today.
I guess yeah, it hasn't enraged or whatever the hell the thing does.
Yeah. But yeah, you might be able to use this to like force flashes by like if you're actually kind of low and an opponent is low, and you like impersonate like a high HP jungler. It's a lot easier to do now. Because I think that the old system required you to not take damage for a long time before you transformed, and I'm guessing now it's the 2 seconds. So you could actually like pretend you're the jungler coming to gank the low HP guy, and force them to flash away. There's
Yeah.
a lot of cool use cases for this. I think that they, at least in concept, did a wonderful job here. I love this.
It does sound super cool. I worry that it's wildly more ambitious that it will be useful for one simple reason.
Uh-huh.
and that's the fact that she's not like Kha'Zix or Rengar. The fact that she gets the drop on you, I don't feel like she's the type of champion that's going to be able to leverage that super duper hard, especially since all of her abilities just took a hit just to get this. If she was like an assassin essentially, I feel like this would be game changing. I think the fact that she's just some kind of middle of the road mage, though, I feel
Yeah.
like it's not going to be as exciting as a lot of
She
other
has enough
things.
lockdown between her E and her R that I think that it is really nice for her to get the jump on you. I agree it's not a complete game breaker or a game changer. But it's really nice. And I think it definitely just, it definitely plays into her identity well. I love this.
I love it
As far
too.
as how
I'm
useful I think it'll be, my instinct is that I think that like maybe around silver gold is where it's going to be the best because at the really low end, people aren't going to know how to react to the to like a like if you're talking like iron, right? The players are not skilled enough to know exactly what to do if you see a trap or a ward somewhere, or like a low or a high HP. They just kind of fight at everything.
Well, we still don't know if all those things are going to be visible. I mean, if it was visible,
Right.
wouldn't you know right away it was fake? Because all those things are by default invisible.
Not necessarily, because there are ways like the scrying blossoms to make them visible. Maybe you're not paying a lot of attention. You think that one of your teammates hit a scrying blossom and made it visible, and you're like, oh, okay, time to clear it for 25 gold.
25.
It
I don't know.
depends on a lot of things.
I don't know.
It can be 25 gold if it was like a stealth ward from a sightstone.
To be honest, I think I'd be okay with her actually gaining stealth if the trap or ward wasn't visible to begin with.
I just think that makes her escapes way too easy, like to the point of being unfair.
I don't really think she's that great to begin with, and to shake
Yeah.
things up, she's not very popular, so they obviously thought she needed a new bag
Well,
of
you'll be seeing
tricks.
a lot of her in the next two patches, and you know it.
I I do think that this is too hilarious to not
Uh,
see her a lot of, but I
yeah.
question how.
You'll have a lot of people that have no idea how to play Nico
She,
playing Nico now.
the thing is, she got some hilarious, like interesting, a new thing to play around with, but as we go through the rest of her kit, you'll see how much she lost to get this, and I don't think it was worth it because
I don't think it's
her ultimate was absolutely devastating, and it kind of lost a lot of umph.
Yeah, so I do think that like this is gonna be really good in the silver and gold because that's the level where you kind of know how to react to things, but you don't necessarily have all of the game sense, to know. For example, like unless you're a Viego player, you might not know every part of every champion's kit. In the same way that you might not know exactly all the things you need to look out for when Nico is in your game. So you're gonna react. You're gonna react in a way that would normally be smart, but because it's actually Nico fooling you, it becomes a really dumb move. So that's where I think she's gonna shine. And then once you get to maybe plat, certainly diamond plus, everyone's gonna know what to do when they see Nico in their game. They're gonna know, to try and use a Q on the plant. They're gonna know if they don't see Nico on the map, to keep a distance from the plant, etc. So I think she's gonna shine in that mid elo range.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not
yeah,
sure it was worth it.
let's talk about the rest of the kit because I don't think she lost as much as you did. Let's go through skill by skill.
The ultimate, I think, was the worst. Yeah,
Okay.
the Q lost some damage, but the consistent effect
No,
if
the
you
Q
stand
gained
in it
damage.
for 12 seconds is better.
The Q gained damage. It lost 5 base damage, but it gained 5% AP. So you break even at 100 AP, which is nothing. And then you also get a higher radius. So this is just a straight up buff on the Q.
And
And
like you
because
said, it does more to monsters.
Yes. So because you get a lot of bonus damage against monsters, it's going to hit 3 times. So at level 5, that's 210 bonus damage. Even at level 1, it's 90. Above and beyond what it's already doing. This is why I think, in combination with that passive, that she is now set to jungle. Because she does have enough catch. She has the speed boost through her W, and then the catch through her E. that I think she can actually make competent lane ganks, and now she's gonna have a lot of damage against jungle monsters too.
Yeah, I don't
So yeah,
think it's just going to be enough to make her clear very well, though. And she doesn't have any
yeah.
sustain, so that kind of sucks.
That's true. Sustain is the problem, right? But the jungle items do give you a lot of it.
Something else they made is while they were giving her more trickiness on her passive, her other tricky thing got a buff too. Now she can redirect it like LeBlanc's clone, instead of it always just going down a straight line, which was kind of dumb.
Oh, okay. So you can recast multiple times.
I think that's what this is explaining. Although
Okay,
it
that's
lasts
cool.
for such a brief amount of time, I don't know.
It is cool though. And then it also got this new passive. Where I think once you auto attack twice, your next on hit gives you a movement speed buff. And did she already have this?
Yeah, that's why she's a troll top.
Oh, okay. So that's another nice thing for the jungle clear.
Yep,
And
I
it does
guess.
the bonus damage against monsters now. Yeah, I think they're probably trying to make her a jungler. Maybe not an always jungler, but maybe a primary one.
I think at the end of the day, she's probably only going to see play at support still.
Okay, I disagree, but I see where you're coming from, and it's a possibility that will happen.
I
So
think
yeah,
I,
they've buffed the Q, they've buffed the W. Go ahead.
I think you're right that this is definitely going to make people want to troll your games and play her jungle for the foreseeable future. I think
Yeah,
eventually she's going to fall back to just supporting though, just by the absolute silliness of her ease snare
I get what
time.
you're saying. I look at this kit, and I think if somebody is actually competent, they've put in the games in Nico, I think they'll be able to put a good jungle game in.
Even if that's the case, she's just not really a champion that I think would be very useful to have
I thought
as a
you were going
jungler.
to stop with, even if that's the case, she's not really a champion.
No, I just think that having a bunch of ranged champions on your team isn't super
Uh-huh.
useful.
Alright. So we've got the E, which is her bind. Here we have a slight reduction in the base damage, but again a 5% boost in AP ratio, meaning at 200 AP you break even. I'd say this is probably net neutral.
As long as they didn't change the absurd snare time, it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, if you hit a minion or some other target before you hit the primary target, yeah, all the targets beyond the first basically have a lot of snare time. So that E is still really good. And then let's look at the ultimate, because they did gut that to some extent. But I'm going to make an argument once we're done for why it's not as bad as you think. So tell everyone about the changes.
Well, it's got a longer cooldown, a
Uh-huh.
lot less base damage, a hell of a lot less AP ratio. It gained in knockup, but uh, yeah, I think it was better before. And now it doesn't give her a gigantic shield for hitting a lot of champions, so I assume it still hides the animation if she's in another shapeshifted form like it did before, because if they took that out, it'd be kind of dumb. Uh, yeah, I mean, this is probably what you'll open with if someone runs by you and you're pretending to be like, a raptor or something. Because when you're in a different form, you don't see the channel time on this ability until it activates. So,
Yeah. My guess is that they did not take that away because they would probably say so if they did. But even if they did, now as soon as you cast, you knock up enemies. So it's actually a lot easier to hit this ability, whether you're in the Nika form or the disguise form. Even if it doesn't stealth it, the enemy is going to have very little time to get out of your spell after the knockup. So you knock them up for 0.6 seconds, you leap, and then you stun them for another 3/4 of a second after you land. This makes it a lot easier to hit. Yes, you lose the shield, which was completely insignificant anyway. Yes, the damage has gone down significantly. I think that is the biggest part of gutting this. But the fact that it is easier to hit, and you don't need to necessarily hit your E first against a champ that can blink, for example, is makes this still a nerf, but not as much as you think.
I
And
don't
with
think
all of this
losing
other
the shield component is insignificant.
I do. I
It
do. I
was
mean,
it was
at level
gigantic for how
like
squishy she is.
at level 6, it was literally like a 100 shield.
Well, if you only hit one person, yeah, it sucks. But that's never what you're
If you
going
hit 3
for.
people, it was a 180 shield. Big whoop.
It scales super well.
Yeah, but so does all damage in the game. You know what I mean? At level 16, great, you get a 500 shield. That's like one Vayne auto attack.
It scales way better than you think.
I mean, I've seen it in action a lot of times. I have seen the shield save Nikos, and win a fight. But more often than not, it just doesn't really play a factor in it. So yeah, unfortunate that she lost that. But I think that between the really nice stuff that they gave her in her passive, the buffs on the QNW, and the fact that she can competently jungle now, I think this is overall probably a touch up for Nico. Um, yeah, you don't think so?
I think what little playtime she had was relegated to how consistent and easy her damage was to land, and
Not to mention the bind.
I think without the cheese lord nature of her ultimate not being as good, it's definitely going to take some off the top, and I don't know if the goofiness that she's going to be engaging in now is going to make up for that. Because, like I said, if she was Kha'Zix or Rengar, this would be pretty damn hilarious. But she's just not nowhere close to that type of champion. So I'm not seeing all the surprise stuff going to be as good as you might be thinking it is.
Even if you're looking at like the 30% less AP on her ultimate, the total amount for hitting your ultimate plus your E plus your triple Q is only 10% AP less because each version of the Q and the E were both buffed by 5%.
True.
Yeah. And look, if she comes out too weak, they'll probably look at buffing her ultimate back a little bit because that was a fun part of her kit. But now she has lots of fun parts of her kit.
I wonder how she'll do an ARAM. Be pretty hilarious to hide as nothing.
A Poro?
I don't know. No, she can't hide as a Poro because they don't really count as anything.
Oh, they should definitely let you hide as a Poro. Just follow people around.
Maybe you can pretend to be a health relic and no one will notice.
Little heart signs will come out of you. Those things are cute. All right. Overall, like, if we're gonna give a rating to the rework just on its design, I'm gonna give this an 8. I like this a lot.
I'm not sure that silliness translates to awesomeness, so I'm not quite as optimistic. I was hoping for a bit more substantial of a rework with how little playtime she gets. I would say I'm going to say 5 out of 10 because
wow.
I don't think her passive is going to be as useful as you think it's going to be.
I was hoping they would do something cooler with like the ability to trick people with your W. Once in a while, I like run at them and I send the clone backwards, and then they're like, "Oh, it's the clone," and then I use all my abilities. But more often than not, it's just kind of there for movement speed.
Yep.
Besides that, I really like what they did here.
It's interesting. I'll give it that. I see lots of bugs in the future and lots of hot fixes to make it work.
Not more than Viego, though, right?
No, him and Silas have a lot of bugs. So does Mordekaiser. Okie dokie. Next up, we got Scion, who just dies faster. That's about it.
In his zombie form, yeah, that's pretty much it. I like this. Like the zombie form, when he basically ignores you and wails on your turret, is the stupidest thing in the world. So this is a change in the right direction. But I'd really like to see them give him more tools for chasing down champions in his zombie form, and fewer tools for just like ignoring you and hitting your tower a bunch of times.
I don't think they should be doing that.
Okay. Because if you have a slow, he's never getting you in his zombie form.
Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be like ultra consistent. It's just like, kind of like Kog'Maw's thing.
Right. Although Kog'Maw's is certainly easier to hit a champion with than his is. I just think it's stupid how he just ignores you, runs past you, and hits your turret, both while he's living and while he's dead.
Yeah,
I think
I
that's gotta
to be
rework this
honest, I
guy.
haven't seen anyone play him like that in a very long time.
I see him played like that almost every game. He goes like 0-9 and breaks the base. No kidding. Almost every game I've seen him in. Where are you playing him? ARAM?
Thing is, I'm not sure that's vastly different from how people just like to play top laners in general with like Reckless Abandon. I don't think that's particularly a Scion specific feature. Everyone
I think
just plays top like a madman, to be honest.
I think the Scion's the most toxic at it. Like at least Yorick, like if you can fight him, you can stop him. Scion literally just
Yeah,
ignores.
Yorick is a real fuck. You got that right. People have been playing him more, and I have not been having a fun time.
I hate those ghouls.
Yorick is such a fuck.
Yeah.
I hate Yorick.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we got Swain here. And this is a pretty sizable buff for an ability that has such a low cooldown. This is definitely going to help him in the support game, in the mid game, and Chrissy's
Bread and
top
butter
lane.
Q, right?
Say what?
This is bread and butter Q, right?
Yeah, it has like a super low cooldown when it's maxed out,
Yeah.
so you're just going to be feeling the changes that much more. To be
Yeah.
honest,
So
this
this
probably
is,
didn't even need a buff, to be honest.
yeah. I don't see him played much, but when I do see him played, especially when I see him played well, he is a monster. I have one friend that plays him either as a bot lane carry or as a support, and he just like hits most of his never moves and just consistently gets stronger and pokes down the enemy. And then as soon as he hits them below like half health, he just goes in, ignites them, and they're dead. And then by mid game, he's using his ult and sometimes his Zanius, and basically 1v3ing, getting like one kill, getting the other two people low, sometimes getting all three kills by himself, but then usually surviving long enough for somebody else to get in there and clean up the other kills. Like, it is awesome to watch him play Swain. It's awesome to watch a good Swain play Swain in general. And yeah, I agree with you. He's a good champ. We just don't see him much. So getting more damage, both base damage and for each extra shard or whatever you want to call it that he hits, the bolt. Nice.
Yeah,
This adds up.
I like playing up top, and I like Grasp. Yeah, I don't really think he needed this. This is really going to help him support where he's played the most, where
This is gonna
little numbers
certainly
have the
help
biggest
wave clear,
impact.
too. I'd say it would help wave clear the biggest, no?
Well, yeah, but I don't really think he was hurting in that department. It
Uh-huh.
takes him a little while before his wave clear comes online. This ability kind of
Right.
sucks early game when you're not like hitting someone in melee range with it. So
Yeah. I don't doubt it'll help him support. I think it might even help him more as a mid or bot lane carry, though.
well, it's going to help him everywhere because it's
Yeah,
just a
for
flat
sure.
buff.
For sure. This is just really nice for Jericho.
Yeah, I'm surprised they would do this. Yeah, I think he's kind of on the brink between being a little too obnoxious and just right.
I feel like he was just right. If he was so good, people would play him more.
I think he's definitely played a lot more than Nico. That's for damn sure.
That's fair. He's also played more than Urgot, though. Well, I know.
No, I don't know. I
Yeah,
think
I'd say
Urgot
he's
gets a
played more
lot of
than
top
Urgot.
time. I don't think Urgot's.
Even these days? I know he used to.
I don't think
I don't
he's
see it much more
wildly
anymore.
unpopular top.
All right. Well, he's definitely played more than old Urgot was.
Yeah.
He had a 0.6% play rate in games. That means in 1 out of 140 games, you would see an Urgot on your team or the other team before his
That's
rework.
2 or 3 times better than Ivern.
No champion has ever had that low of a play rate. Even Ivern. You see him in about 2% of your games.
Yeah, but I bet Ivern's regret pick rate is much higher though.
Regret rate is 99.3.
I don't think I would mind having the old Urgot on my team, especially with the newer items. I feel like he'd probably be even better.
And the 0.7% that didn't regret it were probably stoned.
However, he's just an enigma. But he is getting an update later this year, so
Oh, that'll be cool.
hopefully they'll. I want to see them either just push him completely into support or just push 1,000,000% of his power into Daisy, because he just has some serious problems all over the place. That would make me happy.
I would like to see them get rid of Daisy, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Like, give him
No.
a lot more like power that he can actually use.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do that. I think.
I don't think they'll do that either. The other thing I would kind of like is if they made Daisy into his passive, gave her to him all game, and then like made all of his skills revolve around Daisy in some way.
That
Maybe like
sounds
AoEs around Daisy or lines through Daisy.
I don't think they'll commit to something as large scale as that. They'll probably do some
Probably
half-ass
not.
thing like Nico.
Look, I gave it an 8.
Yeah,
All
but at the
right.
end of the day, it's just a shiny new passive.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, next up we got Talia, and pretty sure this is her ultimate. No one plays this champ either, so.
Well, the one thing that will be really nice with this is that this is saying that if you damage an enemy champ, now you'll no longer have the wall placed on a cooldown. If you're damaged, you'll still have it placed on a 3-second cooldown. But if
Yeah.
you are kind of like chasing someone and they use like a blink or a flash to get away, now you'll be able to use the wall to follow them and chase down your kill.
I'm honestly
So in that
shocked she
sense-
couldn't do that already.
Yep. Yeah, they had a couple of kind of feels bad things on her R.
That's so stupid. I always
the-
assumed she could just do that already.
The reason that it's locked out when you take damage is so that you can't just use it in the middle of a fight to say, nope, I'm out of here.
She should be able to do that.
I disagree.
I mean, her ultimate is so unbelievably niche that why not? She might as well. I mean, that's what Scion can do most of the time.
I know that
Why?
you don't want to pro play too much, but
I know
exactly,
it's
that's what
I know
Zion
it's
can do, and
mostly a
still-
positioning tool in like the pro scene, but I feel like
Yes.
for the most part it sucks.
It's a gank tool more than anything. But then it's also a positioning tool for turret sieges and things like that. And it's actually used very well there. In your normal like solo queue games, yeah, it's a lot harder to see good uses of it.
Yeah, I can see when you have like 5 Koreans yelling at each other playing 16 hours a day, I'm sure they make good use out of it. But for the rest of us mere mortals, I think it sucks.
No, you see, it's 2 North Americans on a North American team. One like European import that's been here for 4 years, so he counts as an American, and then 2 Koreans that they imported to actually carry the team.
Yeah, except what you forgot is those first 2 North Americans, they'll both just be Asian guys that recently got their citizenship.
Yeah, probably.
It is quite the farce. I don't even think they should allow people that aren't like born in North America even participate in the LCS. It's just like wash.
Wow, no! I
It's-
cannot sign on to that. That's extremely nativist of you.
It's just a wash. I mean, it just dilutes. What's even the point if half of them don't even come from the region? What does it
I
even
like the
say?
idea of having like a 4-year like
Doesn't even mean anything.
I
It'd be
think
like
after 4 years you can be natural. I think that's fine.
it'd be like if somehow Americans were super good and in the LCK they just had Faker and 4 Americans or something.
So you seriously don't think that if somebody like moves from Brazil to America when they're 2 years old, that they should be allowed to play on a North American team? That's ridiculous.
When they're 2, I think that's fine. But
Okay,
obviously,
where do you draw the line?
obviously, the way it's being abused is when they get these guys citizenship like as fast as they can, and then they toss them on a team. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with them obviously being American citizens their entire lives.
Well, they already have a rule where if you play in a league as an import for I think 4 years or more, you become a natural of that region. And I think that's a good line. Like if a team is going to keep you for 4 years, as an import, like okay, you're one of us now. But yeah, I think like trying to like get
It's not a good look.
citizenship just for that reason is not great.
It's not a good look.
All right,
just-
I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on that.
I think it's only really a problem in North America, to be honest.
Well, we're the only like region that doesn't have the talent that we can home grow.
That's why it makes it look like such a farce. Yeah.
Well, it kind of is.
Okay, next up we got Trundle.
I know you like this guy.
he is one of my favorites. Although I haven't played him as much since he got all those giant nerfs that broke my heart. But we got some more mana. I guess that's nice, so you can just queue with Reckless Abandon or whatever, your heart's content. He doesn't really run out of mana unless you're being a goofball anyway. So this is nice.
And,
It's like 2 more queues.
And this is a full 10% bonus to his base attack speed, too. That's not insignificant.
I know, it sounds like so much when you say 10%.
Yeah. He gets 10% more attacks in.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And all of his bonus items that give him more attack speed, those will also multiply with a 10% extra. So that's actually like the bigger buff here, in my opinion. Trundle's kind of like, there's a lot of skill in him early game. I think once you get to like the mid and late game, he's very much like a stat check type of champion. Either you had a skillful early game and you'll be able to beat most people one-on-one, or you didn't have a skillful early game, or you got unlucky or whatever, and you won't. So I think that makes him a hard champ to balance in the same way as like Olaf, for example. What do you think?
There is some nuance to him, but he is largely a brain dead champion who just has so many steroids and stat reduction abilities.
Extra attacks and the bite, yeah.
Yeah, so I will say this: I think he's one of the best champs in the game from behind.
Really?
Yeah. I think he just scales really well.
I see him as too much of but I see him as too much of a stat check champion to be able to consistently make the comebacks from behind. Although it's true that
it depends if you're one of those players who thinks a comeback is having to kill your counterpart 10 times if you died a couple times first, or if your idea of coming back is just only making like net neutral plays from this point on and not putting your team further in the hole.
I see the comeback as at some point being able to provide more value than your counterpart.
Well, I'd have to say he probably inevitably beats almost every champion in the game, late game, depending on his itemization is probably one of the broadest in the entire game. Yeah, there's very few champions that can beat him late game. He has such a mix of just so many little things in such a simplistic kit.
Honestly, I think this is going to be a huge buff for what I said before about the attack speed, and then also for the mana.
It will not be a huge buff, but it's nice.
He's the type of champion that if he gets going early, he really becomes a monster. And
that is true. He is very obnoxious when he gets ahead early because he becomes such a big body so fast.
This will help him do it.
It will help, that's for sure. Okay, next up we got Volibear, and this reeks of making people stop building him AP, in my opinion. So,
they really wanted to do that. They would take away his insane AP ratios.
I'm getting kind of sick of seeing people build him AP. It's so, like, kind of cheesy. And he still gets, like, blown up instantly.
Yeah,
but boy,
no, it's not
he is pretty troll in the 1v1 when he does that, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So yeah, these are pretty big too. Not only more damage, but you're talking 3% more at level 5 on a bread and butter type of skill that he can use every few seconds.
Actually, they need to actually lower the cooldown on this ability. Then it would actually be super good. The cooldown on this ability is like too high because you only start healing when you get the second W off on them. The first one marks them, and then the second one from then point on heals you.
Oh! Only your second use of the skill will do the.
Yeah, the first one gives you the wound, and then every one after that heals you.
Are there other ways to get the wound on them?
No, unfortunately. That would be cool if your Q could do it, because then you could just Q W.
Right. So in a long fight, you can use this and get the heal multiple times, but probably not anything besides that.
No, it's actually surprisingly garbage in the laning phase.
Right, but still, like late game, how much HP do you expect him to have? Probably 3,000, 3,500?
Depends on what kind of troll you are. If you're building him straight up and you have if you're building him tank with only Sunder or Trinity Force or one of the tank items, yeah, it's a huge heal.
Yeah, I mean 16% of your missing health could be 500 heal.
I don't know why most people don't build him tank. He synergizes so well with it. And his damage is
the team.
His
They want
damage
to
is
do
so
more
good
about
with
it.
so little.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just all these troll top laners these days like don't
And
want to actually do something useful for the team.
even when he's not
Let's
AP,
play Orianna top more,
he's still a cheese lord with no AP top. I don't know.
right? Yeah, it's like he doesn't even need the AP to do what he does. Yeah.
He's very overloaded in the early game.
All right, we only have one change to items this time.
And a mighty fine change it is. I don't like buying AP items that don't have at least this much. 85 is a nice, good number.
Now this is like a specific AP item for a type of champ that is going to get in close and auto, or has some reason to auto.
Yeah, I feel like not a lot of people get this anymore. There's very few
Yeah.
champions that I feel like as time has gone on, less people
Right.
are good with it.
I mean, you're talking Diana, you're talking Echo, maybe Zoe. Does Zoe usually build this?
You can, but she probably doesn't even want it because she's more into the one-hit quit pen builds. So this is
Yeah.
kind of the big people are like Fizz and Echo.
Akali. Does Akali bring this?
She can, but she doesn't even need it either.
Yeah,
That's the
she doesn't
problem. A lot of the people you're saying, like Diana, it sounds like it would be really good on him, and it's
Oh,
not bad. Far from being bad. It's just that
Yeah.
as time has gone on, they've created so many like magic pen items that you're better off just getting another item that amps your damage with magic pen or some amp effect like Horizon Focus than you are just getting Lich Bane now. So I feel
Yeah,
like that's
and
kind of
thinking
pushed
about
this
it,
out a bit.
most of the champs that we're naming, the Echoes, the Dianas, the Fizzes, have historically been scary champs that I'd say lately have not shown as much. Um, they've been a little bit less scary than I would have expected. So this is probably a move in the right direction. Although I generally don't like items like this that are really only good for a couple of champions.
Tell you what they should have done. They probably should have increased the movement speed on this item by like a pretty fair amount. That would have piqued some interest
That would be
because
interesting. Yeah.
that would have
Yeah.
made it more.
What is it now? 7? It's 8 now. So make it
Would've-
10%.
Yeah, sure, why not? It's such a niche item, and it would make the melee people who do get this for the most part,
Yeah.
it would make it more appealing, especially
Pretty
with
much
the
all the
changes
champs
to.
that use this want that movement speed. So that's kind of a good idea. And then a nice round number on it too.
I forgot. Does this item have? Oh, they could add a ruby crystal to this item. That would make me a very happy man. Just give it 200 HP. That would be cool.
And just make it more expensive,
Sure, what the hell?
I guess. I was always kind of surprised that Vhagar didn't use this item.
I used to see that in the old days.
Because he can literally get to like 1400 AP by the end of the game if he's having a good game.
It's very awkward to use his slow wind-up auto.
Yeah, the auto doesn't feel good, and often you're trying to do your damage from a little bit more distance than his auto gives you. But if you stun someone, you can get in and get an auto off if you're very quick. And with Lich Bane, that auto is gonna do. Let's say you have 1200 AP. That auto is gonna do about 700 damage, just from one little stupid Vhagar auto. So I was always surprised we didn't see that on him, but I guess it's just he doesn't have enough range or speed on his auto attack.
There was a time where Lich Bane did 100% of your AP.
I remember that. Yeah.
I remember I would take it on Poppy. Way back in the old days.
You built Poppy AP?
Oh man, she was really good with. You could do her both back then. You would get like Deathfire Grasp, and this man, you'd be lights out.
Yeah, I usually saw her Glass Cannon AD.
You could do. Yeah,
So
she
it
was
an
hella
uglier
silly
build,
back
and
then.
it was an uglier Poppy.
Be honest, they could drop the ability haste if they gave this 200 HP and they brought back the MR on this item that it used to have a long time ago. That would be cool.
Ability. Oh, yeah, they give an ability haste to everything. I really wish that ability haste was more of like an opt into it kind of stat. So they had more items that were like 30 ability haste and then more items that were 0. Now they're just putting like 10 ability haste on everything.
This used to have a null magic mantle in it ages ago, I believe.
No magic, man. That's stupid.
It used to have, well, if it had 200 HP and it gave like 20 MR or something, then you could rationalize getting it instead of just like Banshee's Veil or something.
I feel like it would replace something more like Divine Sunder or something like that at that point.
Well, the same person that wants to build Divine Sunder wouldn't want to take this because this scales with AD. Or AP, I mean.
Right. You know, you could.
And that gives sustain.
Okay, I suppose that's true, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like its stat line isn't appealing to enough champions to want it, even though there's a lot of champions who should want it.
In the end, though, this is a deal more damage item. I don't think we want two different defensive stats on it. That would be kind of stupid.
Why?
And then what does it do? Just a little bit of everything? It might as well be called Triforce.
I mean, I said take the ability haste off.
Yeah. Then, yeah, I don't know. It's still doing extra damage on your auto, extra damage on your spells, movement speed, and then two different defensive stats. It would just be a weird combination. I like your idea of just upping the movement speed and calling it a day.
That's good too.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Especially now that they gave Cosmic Drive that huge movement speed bonus. But then they took the health off of that item though, so that's.
I have another idea. How about after you use an ability, so like the Spellblade would also make your auto attack twice as quick. Like it would take half the time to use the auto attack animation. And then you'd have a lot more champs be willing to try this out and cast their spell, but then get in range for just a split second to auto and try to get out of range to use the rest of the rotation afterwards.
That might be a pain in the ass for the dude, because you're saying they should modify the actual wind-up animation and not actually give them attack speed.
I'm just saying change the speed of it. That's not that hard to do. It would be the same animation. It would just, it would skip every other frame. So it would look the same, but it would take place in half the time.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the champs that might be able to like creatively use this just have such a slow or mechanically unsound auto attack, or mechanically clumsy auto attack, that it just kind of like forces them out of this creative path. So that'd be kind of cool.
I think they should just make it an off-tank item because everyone that buys it's melee. So what the hell?
I hate that because again, like this is supposed to be a do more damage item.
Well, they wouldn't have to change the sheen effect.
Well, they would have to unless they were going to make it like a 4,000 gold item. I mean, 15 ability haste is only worth like I don't know 400 or 500 gold.
Yeah,
like,
they don't have to keep that. Because
right,
a lot of the tankier AP champions don't tend to stack ability haste.
Yeah, even if they got rid of the ability haste, the most they'd be able to do was add on like a Ruby Crystal or a Null Magic Mantle's worth of defensive stat. They couldn't do both without making it absurdly expensive.
Alright, that's enough.
For a Lichbane rework, right? Make it happen. And somehow we managed an hour 40-minute video with this like scant set of patch notes.
They'll probably just take the item out of the game, and then 5 seasons from now they'll give it back to us and tell us they're adding new items to the game.
Yeah, and it'll come up as new on the patch notes.
Yep. Okie dokie. Yeah, that was a long time for like 10 changes.
Pretty much. We were going off on every tangent. We were talking about Ivern. We were talking.
I think I might grill some chicken after this. Alright, well that does it for 13.9. And
if you have other thoughts on fun stuff you might be able to do with Nico, let us know.
Yeah, we'll have to see where she lands. I'm not as hopeful as you, but I am optimistic.
Alright, well, hope for the best, expect the worst, right?
I suppose.
Alright, until next time, Chrissy.